And with that, I will say hi, hello, welcome to Cartoon Academy Class 14. I'm super excited to have you guys here with me. I took a big break and I missed it. I missed you and I missed getting to draw with people. So if you haven't already, grab a piece of paper and a pencil and we are going to get to work. That is awesome. I love that cowboy hat on Aang. Thank you for the follows. Thank you for the likes. Okay, so today's class is about, well, actually, let me just review a little bit. My name is Cartoon Ray. I teach this class. It's Cartoon Academy because I love drawing cartoons and I want other people to also feel encouraged and inspired to draw cartoons too. I think drawing in general is a really good thing to do. I just think it's calming and a positive way to spend your time. And also I have the experience of having learned to draw. A lot of people think you have to be just born with it or like naturally talented to be able to draw. And the truth is that all the artists you see who have a ton of talent, you know, whether it's music or drawing or playing sports, you see these people and you think, oh my gosh, they're so talented. I could never do that. And the truth is you're just seeing, like right now you're seeing me draw, but I've been drawing for so long that you're just not seeing all the bad drawings I've done. Not that I'm saying this is like incredible, but the main thing that I want to teach in this class is that patience and doing it a bunch of times is how you get good at something. Taking your time to do it again and again and practice your work and figure out how to make practice enjoyable for yourself is like the whole thing. If you can learn how to encourage yourself and keep yourself going for long periods of time and keep coming back and keep getting up every time you make a mistake and get back to it, there's nothing you can't do, whether it is learning a foreign language, playing the piano, or learning how to draw cartoons. Nothing is outside of reach if you are willing to practice and be bad at it and keep doing it, and eventually you will learn how to do what you want to do. I promise. But it takes time. Okay, what inspired me to draw cartoons? I wanted to recreate things I saw on TV and in video games. The first things I learned to draw were like the Ninja Turtles, because I just loved the Ninja Turtles, and it was a way of identifying myself with them. So I actually was lucky enough to have my mom able to draw, and so I could take her a comic book and say, show me how to draw this, and she would show me how to draw it. Okay, so today's lesson is settings. This is the single thing I get requested for the most. We need to be able to create environments for our characters to live in. If we just draw our characters floating out in Nowheresville, that's fine, but it's nice to give them context. Fundamentally, cartoon characters are things we use to tell stories, right? You can draw a cartoon character, but why do you love a cartoon character? Because you've been in a story with them. You've seen them grow and evolve and become, I'm off camera, aren't I? Oopsie. There we go. And you've identified with them. And it's easier to identify with a character when you see where they are and you see what their life is like. And that's the best reason to learn to draw locations. Who knows what I'm drawing right now? It's not an exact representation. I'm doing this from memory, but yep, it's the pineapple under the sea where everyone's favorite sponge lives. So what I want to say first about settings is that less is more. I do this, and I see a lot of people do this. We tend to overcomplicate our environments. You put as much energy into the environment as you do to your characters, and it actually winds up being distracting. People draw environments and they make them super detailed, and actually what an ideal cartoon environment should do is give us information without distracting too much from what we're looking at, which is the character and the story that's happening. So I'll give you an example of that just as soon as I finish up a little bit of detail on SpongeBob's house. By the way, I'm drawing this right now because I used this for my post today. And if you want to make a cartoon request, the post right now is wide open for people to make requests. So the point I'm trying to make is less is more. And what you're really trying to do is decide where your character is and what context clues you can give to determine that environment. So, okay, we have our guy here, and he is, we're using what we've learned in this class to create a cranky guy, and we don't just want him to stand around, we want him to exist somewhere. So what I say when I ask you to come up with context clues is we want to tell where this character is without doing too much. So you don't have to draw out the whole room, you don't have to do everything, but if I draw this, you quickly know this character is outside, right? It's easy to tell that the character is outside. That's the quickest way, right? A stinky little sun and a cloud tells you this character is outside. Now, if I put a square around that and do a frilly little line around the square, all of a sudden you think that this character is in an art museum. He's in front of a painting. Minimal things to tell you what's going on. This can include if you have a character who is, let's see, this is not anything other than generic bunny rabbit in environment. It's not bugs, I promise. It's a generic bunny rabbit. I should have done Binky from early Matt Groening comics. Okay, we have our bunny in an environment. And when I say minimal context clues, I'm saying you could put in, if you start to put in fish around him, now we think, oh, he's in the ocean. Easy to do, but immediately tells us something about the environment. Similarly, you could, I'm going to go faster, so their characters are going to get a little bit more generic. We have our guy here, and if I start to put in stars and planets, we can quickly tell that he's in space. This is what I mean to say when I say just the quickest, easiest thing. Examples of quick, easy things are like a fish will tell you we are in the ocean. A star, or a planet rather, will tell you we are in space. If you draw me a very basic cactus and you just draw this on the picture with him, I'm not saying it's going to be fine art or beautiful, but I am saying once this is drawn into your picture, I will start to know, oh, he's in the desert. Other things that can help are you could put him with him or them or she or they. Put a camera in the environment and all of a sudden that tells us something. Put a microscope in the environment, a little simple thing. These are the rudiments of how you start to just tell your viewer where your character is. Keep it simple. when you are thinking about your environment, can somebody pitch me what's a place? Where do you want to see a character? What kind of environment? I'm using a Pigma Micron 10. An alien telling us there's a cactus on Saturn. I love that. A pyramid. That's a great one. A beach. Canada. Okay, Canada. So if I want to draw, if I have my guy here doing my very basic cartoon character, but I want to really quickly establish that he's in Canada. Let's just go like that and like that. Then what am I going to do? Well, the easiest thing would probably be put a moose in there. And do the Canadian flag. I know it's obvious, but it's a way to start. And I really do think that people overcomplicate their background drawings when they start. And the number one thing you want to do is keep it simple to start and just think about what details of the environment might tell us something interesting about the place where we are. A science lab. I'm going to do a science lab in a minute, actually. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is background, middle ground, foreground. We are so used to just drawing. It's all I've done in this class, just the middle ground, just the thing that we're actually focusing on, the thing we're looking at. And what I want you to think about the next thing, and this is the obvious one, is the background. And the background is anything behind them. But all of a sudden, if you have mountains, you are creating a location for your character. And you're telling us they are outside, under the sky. But we seldom in drawings do the foreground. And the foreground is actually really useful, and you can tell a lot about it. So here I will just say, okay, and we are in a place that has flowers. And the nice thing about using the foreground is it's a great place to establish more information about your environment. And it also means you don't have to finish drawing your whole character. I can fill out a foreground in a way that makes it so that my character just disappears behind it. So try putting something in front of your character. Now, I love the suggestion of a science lab. I'll just do a quick one here, starting with the table there, and just quickly add a table for some beakers, or some vials, rather. I guess these are vials. Oh, there will be a beaker next. Or are these beakers? But you can start with the foreground in this case, doing kind of a Mario-style potion bottle there. Something like that with a bubbling concoction, a little smoke coming off, some markings on the bottle. Now you have a foreground so that when you start to draw your mad scientist, he exists in the middle ground. And then in the background, you can do more information. In this case, we'll say we're in this totally generic, not specific mad scientist's garage workspace, and you can give more information about what's going on in the outside world in the background outside of that garage door. One thing that's really nice is to kind of tell a story with your background and your foreground. If you think about what you're saying, what you want to tell about that space. So here I have the foreground telling you this is a science lab, and the background telling you that this is a neighborhood. There's my little obvious sun and cloud again. But this tells you two things, and that's one really useful way to think about it when you're drawing your environments is what story are you telling? And if you can add different information in the foreground and background to tell a story about the place that your character is, it's really great. Random stuff is useful. You kind of set the scene with props, but you can also tell a story. You can also make good jokes, writing what's a label on what's on the thing, or putting silly props in the background makes things interesting. What we're going to get into next time is perspective, but I want to start talking about it a little bit. The best thing that you can do to start is anytime you want to draw furniture or a space or a building, I want you to think about drawing it absolutely two-dimensionally to begin with. So here is a chair and a table. And let me zoom out a little bit to do, we'll go for a shelf. And when you're drawing furniture in the space, this is like the simplest thing, right? You might see this in a comic strip. Just a really basic two-dimensional representation of these things. What would they look like if they were super flat in like a Mario game or a comic strip? And the reason I have you do this is actually a really great foundation to get to three-dimensional perspectival drawing. Again, we're going to talk about that more next time, but this is how I like to start it, start thinking about it anyway. So once you've drawn your basic stuff in the environment, let me get a little bit wider there and a little bit back over. Okay, so now you have your basic furniture here. And just to start with perspective, here's what I want you to think about. You draw the things flat, and then you go and draw the lines diagonal back. Everything gets that same diagonal line like so. Legs aren't going to go all the way back, so we'll just do like that. And all of a sudden, we start to have things that look like they exist in space. Draw the top of the shelf here. And this is basically the same thing you're using to do when you are drawing a cube, right? Basic cube is draw a square and then diagonal lines back and echo the lines of that square on the backside. And that's what we're doing here. The shelf gets a little bit more complicated, but you go from the corner going back and then do a line going up and a line going over. And then we're going to put it all together. So let's go for a table. Let's do the tabletop first. Table coming over. Thank you for the likes and thank you for the follows. Now I'll do the same thing as before where I draw things on the center of the table. I'll draw a little candlestick here. And I drew it up from the table because if I draw it flat on the table, it'll look weird when I add the perspective. But I'm drawing the candle here like so. And then I want to draw two characters at the table, so I will draw a chair and a chair, so that now I can draw character 1 and character 2. Just draw a line there for their legs. I don't know why, but they're upset at each other. Things are always, in life, conflict isn't always a lot of fun, but in telling stories and in drawing pictures, conflict is a really great thing to include. And I'm doing all this to show you that you can draw this all sideways and then add that detail to show the depth of the furniture you've created. All right, I just drew them all flat to begin with, and now I'm adding that little extra bit of detail to create the environment some. And including a little bit of background information. A window is a great opportunity to establish where your characters are. So in this case, I am drawing a window here. And you know, I'm trying to draw things from the things that are closest to me to the things that are the furthest back to me. That's largely because I'm using a pen. If I was using a pencil, I might draw the space first, but I think it's okay to think about things as what's closest to you and then work backwards to what's furthest away. And then we'll say, surprise, surprise, they are on the moon. Minimal details to establish where we are. You can do more complicated work. I highly encourage you to find a style and develop it, but this is sort of like the most principled, straightforward version, and I do think you should start simple and move to complicated. And bonus points if you ever decide to say that, I personally think anyway, a good move is to draw a panel, a border around your scene. So that is what we are talking about today. What I would like you to do for homework is to draw a scene. You could redraw this scene, but it's okay to make up something completely new. It's probably preferable to make up something completely new. What I want you to do, oh, and I will just say now, if you're new here, this is class 14 of Cartoon Academy, and you can go and watch classes 1 through 11, and I'll put 12 and 13 up soon. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the follows. You can go and watch class 1 through 13 on my YouTube channel and catch up. And the reason I'm giving homework, is so that you can practice the work. And if you do that homework, anyone who does 75% of the homework for this class will receive a certificate from me. Just a little thing, it's not really worth anything other than it just being a celebration of you having done the work. And anyone who does 75% of the homework, any quality, I'm not giving grades, but anyone who does 75% of the homework gets a little certificate and gets called out in the final class. Thank you for the follows, and thank you for just being here. And it's been really great. Sorry, the homework, a scene with midground, foreground, and background. Relevant details and objects. And just light surface perspective. Meaning this thing where you draw it in 2D first and then add a little bit of depth to it. Next time, we're going to talk about more complicated perspective. I know perspective is a real intimidating thing for people, but I think I can talk to you about it in a way where it's not too big a deal. So go do some homework and come back on Thursday for more class.